This will be a complete video on everything that you need to know regarding blood pressure. I'm going to cover ways to instantly change your blood pressure, long-term benefits of changing your blood pressure, and ways to change your blood pressure permanently for good. It's going to be a long video, but I'm going to cover everything, and let's just jump right into it right now. The first thing we're going to do to give you some confidence that you can change your blood pressure is I'm going to show you two methods that you can instantly change your blood pressure and show and prove that your blood pressure is not a static number that just stays the same. It can change, and if it can change for the worse, or it can change for the better. It's totally up to you, so let's get into it. These two methods that I'm going to show you to lower your blood pressure within 5 minutes, when practiced over a long period of time, can have long-term effects. Number one is isometric hand grip strength training. You don't need any type of special equipment. You can use a tennis ball, you can use a towel, you can use a hand gripper, you can use something like this. I have this, it's just a vitamin bottle, and you can use this. The great thing about this training is that you don't need to have a maximal effort. You don't need to use all your strength. You will squeeze for about 2 minutes and then relax for about 2 minutes and then squeeze again for a consistent 2 minutes and then relax. You repeat that 4 times. It doesn't matter whether you're sitting down or standing up. It doesn't matter which hand that you use. The research is a long-term training of this isometric hand strengthening exercise can lower your systolic numbers by 8 to 14 millimeters of mercury, and the diastolic numbers 6 to 8 millimeters of mercury. The reason this is considered significant is because some medications are considered successful if they achieve those same results. All right, the second part discusses deep breathing and how it can affect our nitric oxide production within our blood vessels, which helps blood pressure. It will calm down our mental attitude, and it will also help stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. So watch this part. I'm going to give you a very simplified way to do deep breathing exercises that can lower your blood pressure in 5 minutes. This is how I do it. This is how I've found over the years to teach people how to do it that's very easy. And if you like something different, then go ahead and let me know in the comments section what your style of breathing is that you find beneficial in terms of lowering your blood pressure. The method I'm going to teach you is very simple to learn. You don't have to overthink it. I find that a lot of people just simply overthink this stuff and they don't get the benefit because they get stressed out. But as with most deep breathing exercise routines, most of the research has shown that the systolic number with deep breathing can change up to 20 points of millimeters of mercury, and the diastolic can drop about 10 millimeters of mercury. So this is how I suggest that you try to do it if you're new to deep breathing exercises. The first thing is you're going to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. The second thing is you're going to start low in your rib cage and your belly. Your belly is going to expand, but then as you start to expand your belly, you're also going to expand your rib cage. It looks like this. Watch this. You're going to breathe in through your nose. And then when you let the air out, just blow the air out. You don't have to try to blow the air out slowly or blow the air out twice as long as you inhaled. You just relax. It's more of a mental relaxation than anything else. So you can do this once a day, you can do it twice a day. About 30 deep breaths takes about 5 minutes. So if you just set a timer on your phone or your watch to just let you know when 5 minutes is up, as a general rule, most people get about 30 deep breaths during that time if they do it slow, which is about 6 times per minute. All right, now there's a mental component to blood pressure. Many people are extremely stressed. So in this next part, I'm going to discuss some philosophies and techniques that I've used to help me personally and I've helped with others through humor and this method. So I think you'll like this. Can only 2 words lower your blood pressure? It's possible. I'm going to tell you what those words are in just a moment, but there's a process by which this works, and it is kind of interesting. I learned this probably about 30 years ago, and it kind of helped me a lot in terms of understanding why certain things happen to our body physiologically. And I'm going to give you the details of it right now. There's something called neuro-linguistic programming, and what this means is, if you break down the word, neuro means our nervous system, linguistic means our language, and programming is essentially how we are programmed, just like a Pavlovian dog, on how our physiology changes based on words that we say. I'm going to give you a good example. If I were to say the American flag, many people feel a deep sense of patriotism, calmness, and they feel generally super happy when they see an American flag because of what it represents. So their blood pressure goes down when they see an American flag. Other people, they see the American flag and they have a great disdain for everything that it represents. And of course they get so angry that their blood pressure goes up. And just a symbol like that can create in our body a physiological response, a neurological response. And this neurological response, of course, deals with stress, creates a situation where our blood pressure can go up. Using certain words will stimulate your nervous system to have a physiological response. And generally what we're looking for is to have more of a parasympathetic response rather than a sympathetic response. The whole point of neuro-linguistic programming is to program your body to have a neurologic, physiological response from the words that we use. And so if you can repeat these words throughout the day and calmly say them, you're going to program yourself to lower your blood pressure. And what are those words? Tranquility now. Every time you feel stressed out, every time you get angry, every time someone in the front seat won't move their seat forward to give you more leg room, say the words, tranquility now. Now, of course, this isn't going to work for everyone 100% of the time. In every case, that's impossible. But maybe it can work for you. Just do not yell. Hey. Hey. Tranquility now! Tranquility now! Tranquility now! Tranquility now! Tranquility now! Tranquility now. So you know what my 2 words are now for any type of stress, anxiety, or when my blood pressure goes too high? You know what it is? What do you think?
What could they be?
Tranquility now. That's what I say.
Tranquility now.
Yeah. Tranquility now!
You supposed to yell it?
No. He wasn't specific on the audio tape. So now let's talk about supplements. Supplements are a big thing that you can literally, in some cases, not all, replace medication with because they're so effective. But this is important because if they're that effective, you want to be careful mixing medications and supplements together. And that's why, of course, there's always the disclaimer that you should talk to your doctor, and you should. You shouldn't just be putting things in your mouth willy-nilly. Let me tell you exactly what I do. Let's talk supplements. Let me get in here. Okay, I'm going to show you what I have been taking. The main thing is some magnesium supplements, and this is the one that I like, and you can take whatever one that you like, but I have found that this helps me the most. It has 7 different types of magnesium in them. I'll list them right here, but I take 2 tablets at nighttime before I go to bed, and it's so simple and it helps me sleep. One of the most overlooked things when it comes to controlling your blood pressure is getting enough rest, and it's during the night that our body recovers. And so I have found that the better sleep I get, simply the better my blood pressure is. So I'll put a link down below to the one that I take. It's called Magnesium Breakthrough from Bioptimizers. This next part is in regard to something specific called nitric oxide. And nitric oxide, I'll explain in just a moment, is a gas that's developed by your body in your nasal cavities and your blood vessels. And what it does, it can help relax and dilate the blood vessels. And there's many different ways to increase the chances of having more nitric oxide in your body. And this is part of a lot of upcoming research in healthcare, because if we can improve a person's nitric oxide, we can improve their blood pressure, and it stays that way. So watch this. There are 3 ways to increase nitric oxide. 2 of them are free. Now the third one you have to be a little careful of, but if you're smart and you listen to what I say, you'll be okay. The benefits of increasing nitric oxide production in your body is that you can lower your blood pressure and possibly avoid getting on medication. Now, of course, some people, nothing works for, so some people need medication, but this is certainly worth a try. I mean, what do you have to lose? So let's dive into number 1, exercise. The endothelial cells of the inner lining of our blood vessels will produce more nitric oxide, and the purpose of that is to dilate the blood vessels to deliver more oxygen so that the slow twitch muscle fibers can oxidize fat for energy. If you exercise too intensely, then the body needs to just use the ATP in the mitochondria of the fast twitch muscle cells. This is the physiological reason why you need to do aerobic activity and not high intensity exercise or strenuous exercise. Thus, aerobic activity is better able to produce nitric oxide. Aerobic exercise also stimulates antioxidants to become activated, and thus it prevents the destruction of nitric oxide. This is the reason why exercise, even every day for a half an hour, will improve your blood pressure and produce nitric oxide for long periods of time. Number 2 is nasal breathing. And according to the British Medical Journal and the National Institutes of Health, the nitric oxide is developed also in our nasal passageways. So we inhale through the nose, and that increases the amount of nitric oxide that's produced in our bodies relative to when we inhale with our mouth. So one technique that you can use is to close your mouth, and some people go as far as taping their mouth. That's really not necessary in this particular case, but you can consciously close your mouth and breathe through your nose. In addition to that, another study has shown that humming actually increases the amount of nitric oxide production by a factor of 15. Very simple. You can breathe in and out through your nose probably throughout the day. You can do it at work. I wouldn't personally hum at work because people are gonna think you're a flippin' nut job. The third and final thing that you can do is eat nitrate-rich foods. In this case, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have to go across the street to the supermarket. So let's go ahead and do that. Celery, beets. These you have to worry about if you have kidney stones, but other than that, not a problem. Swiss chard, red leaf lettuce, spinach. Now in some cases, people have a very bad condition called resistant hypertension. And as you're going through this video, you wanna see or assess, is this you? If you're taking 3 to 4 medications and your blood pressure is just not going down, there's some important information you need to know before we go further in this video. So watch this part right now and get an idea of what this is so you can either talk to your doctor or take control of it yourself. Here we go. Resistant hypertension is defined as a person whose blood pressure will not go down with at least 3 different blood pressure medications of different classes, one including a diuretic. Some people need 4 or 5, up to 6 different medications to keep their blood pressure at least lower than it would be without those. Those are also considered resistant hypertension. Ultimately, you want to find out why your body is so resistant to all these drugs. Very often it's either a kidney disease or sleep apnea or some type of hormonal imbalance, and ultimately you want to find out what that is. The only way to know that, and you can't know that at home, is to have specific blood tests and testing through specialists to know what those causes are. But there are some universal things that you can do that will help your body assist the doctors in getting you better. And these are totally natural and they don't cost a whole lot of money. So let's go over them. Number 1, no more NSAIDs. Don't take any drugs that are NSAIDs. And the reason why is because these drugs damage the kidneys. And one of the major reasons why people have resistant hypertension is because of kidney disease. Number 2, limiting salt and alcohol. These are substances which damage our kidneys and can cause lots of problems in our blood pressure. Some people, salt does not have a great effect on their blood pressure, but when a person has resistant hypertension, very often, the majority of the time, salt does have an effect on their blood pressure. So limiting salty foods and alcohol makes a big difference in their body having better health, which can lead to better results with this condition. The third thing that you can do that's natural is getting at least 30 minutes of aerobic exercise every day. Aerobic exercise has been found to lower blood pressure almost immediately as well as over time. We're not talking about high intensity interval training, we're talking about aerobic exercise. And the one that you can do that is really free and available to almost everyone is walking. I say almost everyone because there's always one person who comments who says, I can't walk. But other than that guy, walking is the easiest. But you can do a bicycle, you can do a treadmill, you can do an elliptical, you can do a rowing machine, you could do swimming, whatever floats your boat. The fourth and final thing would be to control your sleep apnea. And in many cases, this is the underlying reason why people's hypertension has become such a problem. So if you can get a CPAP machine that will help you with the sleep apnea, that's going to make a big difference. Another thing that's actually very useful for many people is to sleep at an angle. So you take the head of your bed and raise it up about 3 or 4 inches, and very often that helps people with sleep apnea as well. Now, if you're older than me, then you may want your blood pressure to be higher. And I know that this is a video of how to get your blood pressure lower, but you want to be safe and you don't want to be lowering it too much. So this is an interesting topic regarding as you get older, you may want your blood pressure to be higher. In addition to that, there's other reasons why your blood pressure should be higher. So I want to educate you as much as you can about this subject so you really know what you're in for. There are 3 times that blood pressure should be higher in our body, and number 3 is the most controversial. Blood pressure is scary. If it's above 120/80, then you fall into the category of not healthy, and you are now classified as having a disease. The goal of your doctor is to lower it below 120/80, whether that's through diet, exercise, supplements, or drugs. Anything above 120/80 is a no-no. This is irregardless of your age, race, gender, symptoms, or where you live. But when is it okay to have higher blood pressure? This you're gonna find fascinating. Number 1 is exercise. It's normal for your blood pressure to be higher during exercise due to a faster heart rate. The goal is to deliver more nutrients to your muscles that need oxygen. Number 2 can be laughter. When you're laughing, you get excited. Your heart beats faster, your blood pressure goes up. That's not a disease, that's normal. Number 3, and this is the most controversial, is age. The
goal of lowering blood pressure is to prevent heart attacks and strokes, which are more likely as you age. Most of the research shows that lowering blood pressure does reduce the risk of heart attacks and strokes for younger people up to a certain age, and this is the most fascinating part. At the age of 80, higher blood pressure makes you live longer. There's a 40% greater risk of dying if your blood pressure is under 140/90. By the way, I'll put the research down in the description so you can read it yourself. 40% greater risk of dying after the age of 80 if the blood pressure is under 140/90. Amazing. The higher blood pressure is thought to be a natural mechanism to deliver oxygen and nutrients to aging tissues. So by taking drugs to artificially lower the blood pressure below 120/80, and just to meet some algorithm that is not natural, by the way. Our body doesn't know what the algorithm is, whether it's 1950, 1980, 2024, or even in the future. Your body knows what it wants to do. That's the theory. Insulin resistance is a major contributor to why our arteries get damaged, and thus the stiffness of the arteries starts to accelerate as we get older. And then it becomes extremely difficult to lower our blood pressure. So you want to get a handle on insulin resistance, and this is exactly how you do it. If you want to help your insulin resistance, here are 3 very simple things that you can do that will change your insulin resistance almost immediately overnight. Number 1, stop all processed foods. There is nothing good that you will find about processed foods. There's nothing healthy that comes in a box manufactured by a company that creates things that have long shelf lives. That is not going to help you. Number 2, eat as much fish as you possibly can. Fish has omega-3 fatty acids. It's got a lot of good fat. It's got a lot of good protein. And by eating more of that, it's going to help you reduce the amount of other foods that you eat. The third and final thing is you can eat some carbohydrates, but make sure and eat carbohydrates that have a high nutrient density. Even if you're going to eat fruit, always think high nutrient density. So like berries, or in the case of vegetables, you can eat green leafy vegetables, broccoli, things of that nature. And you'll be surprised when you do that, your insulin resistance begins the process of changing, and it can happen literally overnight. Now, as you can tell, diet plays a major role in our blood pressure. And on the internet, especially YouTube, there's lots of controversy and infighting over what is the best diet. Carnivore? Should you do keto? Should you do Atkins? Should you do zone diet, South Beach, North Beach? Should you do a vegan diet? Should you do a vegetarian diet? Any other variation of those. And it's difficult to choose between, a meat-centric diet and a plant-centric diet. That's how I kind of classify them. So this is my take on how to choose which one would be right for you, and to know in advance so that you don't waste a lot of time trying to help your own blood pressure. How do you choose between a carnivore diet or a plant-based diet? Because that's very difficult. You'll look at YouTube and there'll be different influencers saying the same exact thing, it's just the diets are switched. Everybody on YouTube is going to claim that their diet reduces your cholesterol, they improve your blood pressure, you can lose weight, you can gain muscle mass, and that it's the only diet you should follow. Everybody makes that claim. But if some people are claiming that you should only eat once a day and you should eat a 16-ounce ribeye, and then other people are claiming the same promises, but you should be eating only plants, they can't all be right, can they? There's got to be something wrong with this system. Someone is right. And which one is it? And is there a way to know so that you can not waste time following a diet that won't work for you? And I'm going to say that there is. And that's what this video is about. I'm going to teach you how to know in advance which one is going to be better for you. And the reason why I say which one is because actually all the influencers are correct. Their particular diet for themselves helped them. But because of human individuality, some people may respond better to one diet versus the other, and let's figure out how to know. My name is Dr. Story. I've been a doctor of chiropractic for over 28 years. I'm going to give you realistic advice based on my experience and based on the scientific literature. Now, getting to the scientific literature, all of these influencers have scientific literature that support their arguments, and that is one of the most frustrating things. Is if you want to go plant-based, there is a lot of scientific literature that says plant-based is beneficial. Likewise, if you want to go full carnivore and just eat steaks and organ meats, holy cow, there's scientific literature that supports that too. And you have to wonder, is science biased? The fact that we have to even ask that question is almost a joke. But let's get down to brass tacks, because the truth is that when I see patients, and by the way, I'm a real doctor of chiropractic. I am not a YouTube expert. I see patients, and YouTube is kind of a side gig that I do at lunchtime. Once a day, I'll try to produce videos. But I deal with real people that have real concerns and don't have time to grow their own food and raise their own cattle. And it seems like sometimes with what you see on the internet, that you think we just have to sit around all day and prepare our food. So I'm going to give you stuff that you can actually use. So here's how you know. You've been probably eating all your life, I hope so. And you know that with certain types of meals, you feel good. With other types of meals, you feel bad. So here's the first way to know what type of diet to choose. The first is to ask yourself, how do you feel after eating certain foods? Let's start with the carnivore diet. Let's say you eat a steak or chicken or fish. How do you feel an hour and a half to 2 hours later? Now, when you eat food, it takes time to go into your mouth, down your esophagus, into your stomach. Your stomach is going to try to break down those fats. There's acids in your stomach that are going to try to break down the food and help it start the digestive process. Then, after about 45 minutes on average, the food will start to enter the small intestine. When the food enters the small intestine, the nutrients start to be absorbed into your bloodstream. Now, your liver plays a major role in cleaning your blood before it gets to the main body as a whole, but that usually can take about an hour and a half for most foods on average. That's when you want to question the food. If you eat steak and an hour and a half to 2 hours later, man, you're just lethargic, you just don't have any energy, your stomach is kind of bothering you, you may feel bloated, you feel tired and slow, then that gives you a clue that maybe steak isn't a super healthy food for you. Now, we're not talking about food allergies, and we're not talking about food sensitivity. We're not talking about going to a doctor and getting expensive tests to find out what you're allergic to. What we're doing is we're trying to be sensitive to how we feel, more empirical, and to ask ourselves, it doesn't matter what happens for everyone else, how does this food make me feel? Likewise, if you eat a salad, an hour and a half later, how do you feel? Are you bloated? Do you have gas? Do you feel tired? Are you lethargic? Do you have no energy? If you eat a salad or broccoli or carrots or potatoes and you feel this way, there's no real need to overthink it. Clearly, those foods your body does not tolerate well. Now, for a lot of people, you combine these things during a meal. And so if you feel crappy, how do you know which one it is? You're going to experiment. If you want to, just eat a high protein source that may or may not have fat in it, that has you're not going to eat vegetables, you're not going to eat fruit, you're just going to isolate that food. 2 hours later, how do you feel? Likewise, you don't have steak and vegetables, just eat vegetables. See how you feel. For the majority of people, there's a big difference. And that difference will give you clues as to which diet would probably work for you. And based upon these findings, what you can do is you can start to figure out what foods don't work for you and simply eliminate them from your diet. Then you can come up with a customized diet that is actually right for the most important person that we're talking about right now, which is you. So it's not that you have to follow a strict carnivore diet or a strict plant-based diet or any combination. You start to figure out what works good for you. I'm going to give you a perfect example. Myself, there are certain foods that my body just doesn't react to well. Raw carrots, raw broccoli. I don't like them, I don't feel good, and nothing goes well. Interestingly enough, if I cook the broccoli and I steam or cook the carrots, doesn't seem to be a problem. Now I'm lucky because all forms of protein sources don't seem to bother me, but I do notice that when I eat fatty meats, not chicken or fish, I feel slower. I don't know how to put my finger on it. I'm not allergic, I don't feel bloated. I just feel like I had a big Thanksgiving meal, and no matter what size of a portion I eat, I just don't feel like I have a lot of energy, that I have that pick up and go that I normally have. My diet that works for me, the way I think about it would be, if I look at a plate, it would be about 70% of the entire plate is full of colorful vegetables. Then I would have a protein source, whether it's chicken or fish. And when I eat that way, 2 hours later, man, I feel fantastic. I'm not hungry, I'm not tired, my stomach feels okay, I don't have any digestive issues. I just feel mentally energized. I feel physically energized, like I could go out and ride my bike for as long as I want. And then that feeling lasts for about 6 hours or so, until I can have my next meal, or maybe I'll have a snack. By experimenting with different foods, I've learned that I'm not a carnivore, I'm not a plant-based person, I'm not a vegan, I'm not a vegetarian. I have a combination of a diet that works perfect for me, that gives me energy throughout the day. From morning till night, I have the same amount of energy. Nothing ever bothers my stomach because I simply don't put those foods in it. So that's how I would recommend you choose when you're looking for a diet. The biggest challenge is that when you follow an influencer, they're going to try to influence you to follow their diet because it probably worked for them. And maybe they're selling a book, or they're selling a program, or like all of us, we want you to subscribe and hit that notification button and watch our videos and give us a thumbs up, and the whole standard thing. Now, one of my pet peeves is when people say, I'm following a low carb diet and I'm a vegetarian, so I'm only eating vegetables, not even realizing that vegetables are full of carbohydrates. So it's probably better when you're talking about diet to say, I'm eating highly processed foods that contain a lot of simple carbohydrates, as opposed to saying I'm low carb, because many people are not low carb. There is one carbohydrate that is vital for our overall health, and it lowers your cholesterol, it lowers your blood sugar, it lowers your blood pressure. It almost does everything. So this is the one you want to watch.
The single most important carbohydrate that you need to be eating is fiber. Fiber is a carbohydrate. Most people don't think of that as a carbohydrate. Most people don't think of vegetables as a carbohydrate. They are fruit. They are cookies, pastries, candy. Those are carbohydrates too. But there's a difference. And with fiber, as it goes through your body, is not really absorbed in your digestive tract. Think of it like sawdust going from one end of the tube out the other end of the tube. That is the benefit of fiber. It binds to other foods. It cleans our colon out. It is the #1 carbohydrate that is there on Earth to prevent us from getting colon cancer. Eat fiber.
Now, in regard to fears of high blood pressure, many people are taking their blood pressure throughout the day in different environments under different circumstances. And that's not always a great idea. You'll find that your blood pressure changes throughout the day. So there is a normal daily cycle that you should be aware of so that you don't freak out when your blood pressure is either too low or too high at certain times of the day. So here's the detail on that subject. Blood pressure goes through kind of a daily cycle. It'll start out low in the morning. As the day goes on, it usually will rise a little bit. And then as you're ready to go to sleep, it will go down. That's a normal blood pressure cycle. However, if your blood pressure is higher in the morning or higher at night, that is an abnormal blood pressure cycle. In addition to that, if there's less than a 10% drop in your blood pressure at nighttime, that's called a non-dipping blood pressure cycle, and that is considered abnormal. Now, there are a lot of things that could contribute to an abnormal blood pressure cycle. There's kidney disease, there's diabetes, there's thyroid disease, there's sleep apnea. There's a lot of different things that could potentially be causing your blood pressure to be abnormal. There's a test, it's called the 24-hour ambulatory blood pressure test. And that's what you need to do to notice what your trends are with your blood pressure. Now, if you don't have any money or you don't have access to medical care and you want to monitor your own, you could feasibly check your blood pressure throughout the day, but then how do you check it at night? You'd have to wake up your spouse and say, hey, wake me up and check my blood pressure. Or your spouse could put the cuff around your arm while you're sleeping and see what your blood pressure is at nighttime when you're sleeping. My guess is that would wake you up. Just make sure she puts it around the correct arm, not around the neck or anything like that. I know sometimes my wife would like to put a blood pressure cuff around my neck. That's why I sleep with one eye open. Marty Feldman and I keep my eye on her. First of all, I want to congratulate you on getting this far. We're really getting a whole list of things that can lower your blood pressure, and I appreciate you for watching it. I'm going to give you even more information now. This is where I give you the meat and potatoes, as they say, as far as diet. Now, this is something that is, again, related to stress, but it actually has a very weird effect on your body. And when you do this, you feel a sense of calmness, you feel a sense of wellness. Your blood pressure goes down, surprisingly, and I think that you're gonna like this part. Watch this.
What is a great and unique way to lower your blood pressure? Well, it should be obvious. To relax. Look at where I am. I mean, is this heaven or what? But there's more to it than just saying to someone, relax. I'm doing it right now. I came to the beach today to just walk in the deep sand. And it's not very sunny right now. Supposedly there's a monsoon going on, but there's a lot of electricity in the air. And what I'm doing is I'm walking on the beach in the deep sand barefoot. That is important because our bodies are electric beings and we're very disconnected to the earth. So whether you walk in deep sand, you walk on dirt, you walk on grass, or anything like that, just gravel. Walking on the sand or dirt, or the earth, if you want to call it that, is called earthing, and you've probably heard of it before. And the basic idea is that because we are electric, bioelectric beings, we're not connected to the earth because we always have something interfering with our connection to the ground. So what happens is when you walk in the deep sand like this, not only are you getting that proprioception of that feeling in your feet where you're stimulating all the nerves of the bottom of your feet, which your brain then interprets and can, there's a lot of big waves here. Anyway, your body will connect with the ground, and that electricity of the ground will feed your nervous system. and can help stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is very, very important in lowering your blood pressure. You don't really need to do this every day. You could do it once a week, you could do it twice a week. But since it's the weekend right now for me, I had an opportunity to just come out and just be on the ground, connect with the ground, and you'd be surprised. You can take your blood pressure before and after earthing, and you might be shocked at how well it re-equilibrates your blood pressure.
Now this can happen because of blood pressure medications. It's called orthostatic hypotension. This is something that can be bad. So I want you to watch this just so that you're aware of it, because if you're taking too many medications, I just recently had a patient who fell down, broke their ankle because they just they got up too quickly and fell down, and it's because they were on medication. So watch this, be aware of it.
So I'm going to read to you some great questions, and this is from Morse Mutual Insurance 8540. I'm still pretty young. I've been having bad panic attacks and gut issues from that. I forgot to drink water as my stomach cramps up when I'm stressed. I got up today fast, nearly fainted. Is that normal from dehydration and not eating too much? The answer is absolutely it is. Now the question is, how do you fix this? Because ultimately, the fix on paper is very simple. You need to eat food, you need to drink water. If you're dehydrated and you're not eating, very often you can get what's called orthostatic hypotension. And what that means is your blood pressure is pretty normal when you're lying down. When you come up, your body is so dehydrated and so malnourished that when you come up, the blood pressure drops, the blood going to your brain kind of slows down, bad sign, and you drop to the floor and faint. If your question is that bad? The answer is yes. Is it from dehydration, not eating? The answer is yes. It's a very simple fix. Drink and eat food. But ultimately what the underlying problem here is the panic attacks and the anxiety. That is the key. If you didn't have those things, or the gut issues, if you didn't have those things, then you wouldn't have to worry about forgetting to eat. So my advice, if this was a patient of mine, would be to seek counseling and get help in figuring out how to have a better life, how to control these panic attacks, how to understand what they are, get a hold of the gut issues, and this orthostatic hypotension is a thing of the past.
Now, is there anything I left out? Maybe I did. Put it down in the description and I will make a video about it in the future. But this next part, I want you to watch the entirety because it somewhat summarizes things, but it throws in some extras that may be the one thing that helps you permanently lower your blood pressure. So you want to be complete. You've come this far. Watch this part of the video and I promise you, you're gonna benefit from it. Here we go. We're on the final stretch, baby. Champs-Élysées, as they say in Tour de France.
You can lower your blood pressure by at least the systolic up to 40 points and your diastolic 10 to 15 points if you follow some natural methods. Number one, weight. Your body has to work harder when it's bigger. If you were to take a person who's 150 pounds and add 80 pounds of adipose tissue to your frame, there's blood vessels that have to supply those adipose tissue cells with nutrients, and that requires more blood vessels. It's harder work on the heart, and that's a bad thing. So I wrote down here, I have some research. For every 2.2 pounds lost, your systolic will drop 1 millimeter of mercury. Now that seems frustrating, doesn't it? However, if you think about that, that means if you lose 22 pounds, a person's systolic numbers can drop 10 points. That's important because some of us have more weight to lose than others. If you drop 44 pounds, we're talking 20 millimeters of mercury change. That can be significant. So weight loss is very, very important. And we're gonna discuss, I I have it later on in the video, so hang tight with me, but there's various ways to lose weight. There's the keto diet, carnivore diet, there's the Atkins diet, there's the zone diet, there's the South Beach diet, there's portion control, there's calories in, calories out. There's many different philosophies of how to diet. One of them are gonna suit you, and if you found that one worked better than the other, let me know in the comment section so other people can read it and learn about what works for people. Number 2, let's get into this, and this is extremely controversial, and I'm sure I'm going to get some comments on this, but the research is extremely clear for the majority of people, not all, but the majority of people. Salt does have an effect on blood pressure. It's very popular in the keto diet community, if you want to call it a community, that they believe that salt has no role in blood pressure, but that may be true for some people, but it's not for everyone. The average American eats 3.4 grams of salt per day just in their food, let alone adding salt. It's recommended that we have 2.3 grams, so there's a significant difference. For every 1 gram of salt reduction that you make, you can lower your systolic numbers by 5 points. If you're just the average American, or you're eating a very Western style diet, you can lower your blood pressure significantly by cutting the salt intake in half. Now, the recommendations are not no salt, it's just stop overeating salty foods, and this usually comes in packaged foods, processed foods. So if you eat natural foods, you're going to be still getting salt in your diet, but just not so much. Number 3, this was fascinating, and there is research to support this, that 5 grams per day of potassium can lower your systolic numbers by 5 millimeters of mercury. And you just have to simply find foods. You can use a Google search to find foods that are high in potassium, and it's so easy because they're just normal foods if you just eat natural foods. But a lot of people are not eating these foods, but raising your potassium levels can significantly lower your blood pressure. And again, it takes 5 grams, which is nothing, by the way, to lower your blood pressure by 5 millimeters of mercury. Good examples of diets that have a lot of potassium in it are like the DASH diet, the Mediterranean diet, the zone diet. And if you lower your salt and increase potassium, right there's 10 millimeters of mercury on your blood pressure, because those usually go hand in hand. The DASH diet, Mediterranean diet, zone diet, for example, promotes a lot of vegetable foods. 80% of the food should be vegetables, and turns out that when you do that, you're eating a tremendous amount of potassium and a low amount of sodium. Magnesium. Magnesium is a big one. If you watch my channel, this is number 4, by the way, but magnesium is a big one. And the reason why is because we just don't eat enough foods that have magnesium. Because if you're on a keto diet or a carnivore diet, you know, you're just, let's face it, man, you're not getting the amount of magnesium you would if you were eating a Mediterranean diet. And it doesn't matter whether your food is grass-fed. It would be like, imagine if someone said that I'm eating so many carrots that I'm getting enough protein. That just doesn't, you could in theory, but it's just not. Ultimately, for many people that are on diets to lose weight, you're probably not getting enough magnesium. The recommended daily allowance is different for men versus females. It's in the range of about 300 on average for a person. It depends on your height and weight as well. A bigger person is going to require more magnesium. I personally take a magnesium supplement at nighttime because it helps me sleep. I'll put the name of the supplement down in the description if you're interested, but you can get whatever you want. Get enough magnesium, it'll lower your systolic numbers up to 2 millimeters of mercury. And there's a lot of other benefits besides blood pressure, but fish oil, we should be getting enough fish oil. Omega-3s, people just don't do it. I take about 1 gram of fish oil per day, And if you take a gram of fish oil per day, most of the research has shown that it can lower your systolic numbers about 4 or 5 millimeters of mercury. So again, I'll put the links to what I take down in the description if you want to see that. Fish oil has a lot of great benefits, not just for your blood pressure, but for your overall health. And that's why I do it. Alcohol. This is a controversial one. Number 6 is alcohol. If you just drink 0 alcohol, it will lower your blood pressure by about 4 to 5 millimeters of mercury. I know people who literally will drink a case of beer a day, and you just think to yourself, aside from the carbohydrates problem with that, the amount of alcohol that your liver has to work with. There's something called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and then there's alcoholic fatty liver disease and cirrhosis of the liver. And once your liver goes, you're gonna have a hard time maintaining any real blood pressure. They often say that, oh, only in moderation, but what does moderation mean? Moderation means 1 to 2 glasses of wine per day. But as far as I'm concerned, if you really want to lower your blood pressure, then you really should be stopping the alcohol. That's my advice. If you disagree, let me know in the comments. Number 7, exercise. The real benefits of exercise is its effect on our hormones. And if you use cardiovascular exercise, about walking 150 minutes per week, which is simply Monday through Friday walking 30 minutes, it isn't a lot, that's considered cardiovascular exercise. And that will lower your blood pressure up to 5 millimeters of mercury. They also say that cycling 5 to 9 miles per hour, 150 minutes per week is gonna lower your blood pressure. That would drive me nuts. If you know anything about me, I do not ride my bike 5 to 9 miles per hour. That would drive me insane. But that just goes to show you how little exercise it takes to have an effect on your blood pressure. Now, there are people on YouTube that will say high intensity interval training has an effect on blood pressure as well, and they are correct. However, you have to consider that if someone is overweight by the effect of like 60, 80 pounds, which a lot of people are, they smoke cigarettes, they have diabetes, they have non-alcoholic or alcoholic fatty liver disease, doing high intensity interval training is just too dangerous. It's like revving up the engine too much on your car before your car even has a chance to warm up. High intensity exercise is really for people that are already exercising. So even though you will see that high intensity interval training is beneficial for high blood pressure, it's probably smarter to do more low intensity, long duration exercise that's more cardiovascular. And that will be smarter for you. The benefits of high intensity exercise do come with the risk of raising your heart rate too fast. And for many people, that can cause a heart attack or a stroke. And so when you consider that when you're first starting exercise, it is probably a good idea to start easier. So number 8, meditation, deep breathing, cold water immersion. These are things that do have a benefit if you're into it. Some people, it frustrates them more if they try to meditate. Some people can't breathe deeply because they can't breathe in through their nose or anything like this. They have deviated septums. So you have to find ways to do it. But if it lowers your blood pressure by 5 millimeters of mercury, then it might be worth it to give it a shot. So all it takes is about 5 minutes once a day to really just deep breathe in through the nose. You can do out through the nose or out through the mouth. You can try humming, you could try meditation, just calmly thinking in a quiet place for about 5 minutes can make a big difference on your blood pressure. And some people actually find it beneficial from a stress relief point of view. Number 9, there's really no research on this. It's scant at best, but to have attitude adjustments. And what this means is to stop worrying. I have personally found this to be beneficial for me because I'm one that I take things seriously. I try to find the humor in everything, but ultimately I'm a serious-minded person. You could say type A personality. And stress reduction has been something that's really helped me control my blood pressure, because when I get upset, I get nervous, you know, there's a lot, I'm human, and learning how to de-stress makes a difference. And there's a million ways, there's a million therapists out there that can help you. Some just want to throw drugs at you, some will help you figure out lifestyle and emotional changes of how to look at the world. I have found that the book written by Dale Carnegie, which is called, it's not the one How to Win Friends and Influence People, it's the one How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. I'll put a link to that one down below in the description too if you want to look at that book or purchase it. It's literally, I don't even think it's $10 on Amazon, and it's really worth it because you get through the book and now you have tools that you can use to control your emotions and control how you think about the world and what stresses you out and what doesn't. The one that I get the most flack for, but yet has the most research for. Imagine knowing that there are foods that lower your blood pressure significantly within 3 hours, and this reduction can last up to 24 hours. Would you eat that food? What if I can show you a way to use that food in such a way that you don't even taste it? Or I can give you a recipe that makes it taste good. Would you eat that food? And the answer is, for many people, they've already got the oxalate comment already set and they're just looking for a video. But spinach and beets, particularly beetroot juice, an 8-ounce glass of beetroot juice has been shown to lower blood pressure tremendously. In fact, it lowers it as much as some blood pressure medications. Well, holy crap, that's amazing. I mean, imagine something natural that you could buy at the supermarket that would be as effective as the blood pressure medications you're taking. The reason why people are so upset at this is because there is a small percentage of the population genetically that will form kidney stones. And if you form kidney stones, then you simply can't use this. But I gave you 10 options to lower your blood pressure, so just do the other 9. But again, I have people, they're ready with that comment. The real benefits of exercise is its effect on our hormones. And if you use cardiovascular exercise, about walking 150 minutes per week, which is simply Monday through Friday walking 30 minutes, it isn't a lot, that's considered cardiovascular exercise. And that will lower your blood pressure up to 5 millimeters of mercury. They also say that cycling 5 to 9 miles per hour, 150 minutes per week is going to lower your blood pressure. That would drive me nuts. If you know anything about me, I do not ride my bike 5 to 9 miles per hour. That would drive me insane. But that just goes to show you how little exercise it takes to have an effect on your blood pressure. Now, there are people on YouTube that will say high intensity interval training has an effect on blood pressure as well, and they are correct. However, you have to consider that if someone is overweight by the effect of like 60, 80 pounds, which a lot of people are, they smoke cigarettes, they have diabetes, they have non-alcoholic or alcoholic fatty liver disease, doing high intensity interval training is just too dangerous. It's like revving up the engine too much on your car before your car even has a chance to warm up. High intensity exercise is really for people that are already exercising. So even though you will see that high intensity interval training is beneficial for high blood pressure, it's probably smarter to do more a low intensity, long duration exercise that's more cardiovascular. And that will be smarter for you. The benefits of high intensity exercise do come with the risk of raising your heart rate too fast. And for many people, that can cause a heart attack or a stroke. And so when you consider that when you're first starting exercise, it is probably a good idea to start easier.